Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to
Trapped Under Plastic,
the podcast for the miniature hobby enthusiast.
I like how you made that our tagline, and it was never brought to a vote. The board
No.
never agreed on that.
What would you have voted if there was a vote?
I would vote lukewarm.
Lukewarm, yeah.
I'd be like, all right, I'm too lazy to come up with something else. So
sometimes that's just, the best solution is just the easiest solution. Which
Right.
last night we learned was called Occam's razor.
Right. Occam's razor.
You taught me while you were drunk.
Why was I drunk?
You were drunk because yesterday we shot Drunk Mini Painting number 2, spiritually number 3.
Right.
But literally number 2. Well, no. Spiritually, it's number 2. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We
It's
shot
a lot
it.
of number 2 talk.
Yeah. We shot it. We had a lot of fun doing it. The drinks we used were Games Workshop themed drinks. I don't want to spoil what they were, but it felt good because it was more of like a hobby related endeavor.
It did. Yeah, it did. And we're upping the production quality.
Oh, yeah.
Too. We had another person.
Yes.
Not painting.
No. They were our bartender. So we had a person named Derek. That's his name.
A person named Derek. It's an odd way to describe somebody.
He's a bartender as his job, and he volunteered to make some thematic drinks for us. And so he did that, and it was great. And we had some fun shots with him making the drinks, and it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Sprinkled throughout the vid.
Yeah, he's a mini painting bartender.
Yes. Well,
I don't think
he is.
I don't think he paints minis while he's tending bar though.
Yeah, well, no other bar is going to touch him now after the drinks he made for us because bartending career ruined.
Yeah, we tend to ruin careers by associating with us.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever someone associates with us.
So that's good, but energy might be a little bit lower today. But
Oh, right. Yeah. We should explain that. Why is that?
yeah, I'm just kind of sleepy.
Yeah, we stayed up till 3 a.m.
Yeah,
just watching YouTube videos.
eating snacks.
Eating snacks. Yeah, and then we woke up at 8.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I woke up. That room, your guest bedroom, gets so light in the morning when the sun comes up.
Yes.
It was at like 6 o'clock. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, because that room is on the side of the house that the sun rises on. Yeah, so you get some. Yeah, that's bright.
So I was pretty low on the sleep number. The sleep number was low.
Solid 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't think it was solid.
All right. Moving on. You got some dungeon doors in your hobby room. What exactly does this mean?
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Well, I have this big closet in my hobby space, and I decided I wanted to put double sliding doors, like sliding barn doors on it.
You decided that?
I decided that, but
Didn't your wife decide that?
she agreed to it.
I thought she liked the double door.
Yeah. Dumbledore. She likes the Dumbledores.
I mean, who doesn't like Dumbledore? He's pretty great.
She agreed that it was the best idea rather than like having a custom made folding bifold closet door kind of thing.
Kind of like that. It's not custom made, but that kind of bifolding thing?
Right,
Okay.
because the space is the size of the closet is a really odd shape in terms of width. So we have to have that custom made. So if we're going to do that, I'm going to order some doors, some big sliding doors. And so I had them designed to look like dungeon doors. And they got the big rivets on them. And they have a big cast iron double pull handles. And
Wow, look at this guy. Is it a walk-in closet?
technically it is, but it's not that deep. It's like 4 feet deep.
You have so many minis in there that it is no longer a walk-in closet.
I know. You can't get in there now. It's all full of tubs full of plastic and camera gear, mostly camera gear.
Oh.
Yeah, and tripods and lighting and
Okay.
diddly bits.
That's my favorite part about cinematography is the diddly bits.
Yeah, you never have too many.
AKA rigging equipment, right?
Yeah, rigging equipment.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, maybe I'll show a picture up on the screen for those that are watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Are your cheeks warm again?
No, I'm good. I am a normal temperature, but yeah, last night I was burning up.
Yeah, you were warm.
Another story for you guys. I own, or did own,
Still technically owned.
yeah, an ultrasonic cleaner. And what prompted me buying one was I watched this guy use it to strip plastic models with this chemical compound. I forget the name of it, but it performs better as it heats up, and ultrasonic cleaners heat up the liquid that's inside of them. But he did this really cool test where he was stripping a plastic airplane, a model kit, and he used like the paint that was used on this is like enamel, and it's like 5 years old. And like after 3 rounds of like the 2-minute long ultrasonic cleaning sessions, it fucking stripped it bare.
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm sold. Like, but in my experience of using an ultrasonic cleaner, it never works that well for anything that I put in there.
Oh.
And so recently I bought Conrad. Oh my God, is that his name? Conrad von Karsten?
Mm-hmm.
And he was painted already. I bought him off eBay, and so I wanted to strip him. And I love stripping metal models because it's so easy. You just use acetone.
Yeah, you can use the harshest of stuff.
Yeah, and it just melts off. It's the only time in my brain that stripping miniatures ever works like I want it to work. Because for every other application of stripping, it's just a total pain in the ass. And I've tried a lot of different stuff just to see what works. And honestly, nothing works for plastic models unless someone's got a better idea. And don't you say Simple Green. Simple Green sucks at stripping stuff. You've experienced this too, right?
Yeah. I heard rumors or whispers that like the formula has changed and there was an old version of Simple Green that worked or not available in America. You could still get it elsewhere that's worked.
Absolutely. Yeah, I heard that as well.
You kind of beat me to the punch of you saying that stripping models and ultrasonic cleaner never works, that we're going to have 50 comments below of, it works perfect. Every time I do it, it works great. You must be doing something wrong.
Well, I guess what we should work out here is what does perfect mean to you?
Right.
Perfect to me is spotless. There's not paint left on it. The worst part is that the paint that's easy to get off is the paint that's in easy to reach areas because a toothbrush can hit it.
Right.
But what doesn't come off is the stuff in the recesses, which is the stuff you want to come off. Yeah. That's what obscures your detail.
Yep.
Right. So unless you can get models 97% spotless, shipping has never really worked great for me.
No.
Anyways, the story is here. Ultrasonic cleaners have plastic elements in them, where there's the top of, and this one had like a plastic ceiling to it, so you could see through and see what's being cleaned. It also had a plastic basket in it, and in my infinite wisdom, I put acetone inside the ultrasonic cleaner to run Conrad through it, just to kind of get it done fast. I was like, let's see if the agitation plus the acetone makes it come off even faster than just putting it in a still bath of acetone. And immediately I was like, I've made a grave mistake. The moment I hit the on button, all of the liquid became cloudy white. It was like a smoke bomb had gone off inside, and the basket is white, and I was like, fuck. So I realized immediately that I was melting the basket. So I took it out.
And what happened to the display window that you usually be able to look through the lid on?
Dude, it is totally white. It's crinkled. It's dripping melted plastic from the fumes that was still in there after the fact. Oh my God. Okay, acetone melts plastic. So be smarter than me.
Don't put it in your ultrasonic cleaner.
No.
Unless you have an ultrasonic cleaner with no plastic parts.
I suppose so. You know, like one of those fancy for like a jewelry cleaner or something like that. They probably got all metal ones.
They probably do.
Okay.
So, but I mean, is Von Karsten stripped?
He's stripped, and he is, I'd say 70% painted.
Did you let it run and you're like, it's too late now?
Yep. I was like, just keep him in there. I took the basket out, but it was still all like foggy and stuff. And I was like, just keep running it. So I ran it for a few sessions, and then it came off. There was no residue of like plastic on him.
Oh,
because it's still all liquid, you know?
True.
If I let all the acetone evaporate, he'd probably be entombed in plastic in the bottom.
It's a new hobby project. How to make Han Solo out of your minis.
A little acetone and a little idiocy.
Yes. And you too can do that. I had something to share and I forgot what it was.
I've got something to say. I murdered your baby today. Didn't matter. You know that song?
Yeah, kind of.
I think it's off Load from Metallica. Oh, but it's a Misfits song though. It's a punk song that Metallica
it's from
covered.
Garage Inc. Then.
Is it Garage Inc? Wasn't Load or Reload?
Garage Inc. is where they do all the covers.
Okay, so then it's Garage Inc. Okay.
So I have an IKEA display case.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Detolf.
Classic, dude.
The classic Detolf.
Everybody got Detolf.
Everyone got 6. I only got 1.
Every corner of their rooms.
Yeah. And so the Detolf's home.
I love how you say it. Can you say it again for me?
The Detolf.
Oh.
Its home, since I've owned it and put it together, is it was up in the guest bedroom downstairs. And I decided I need to bring it down to the hobby basement, obviously.
Yeah.
The hobby basement needs to come down there.
The man cave.
Down to the man cave. But it's down like, I don't know, 7 stairs. And the thing is entirely made of glass. And it's IKEA build. So, yeah.
A little rickety, but also extremely heavy.
Yes, extremely heavy. And I was way too lazy to take it apart.
Oh, no.
Because I'm like, look, it's going to take me a long time to take it apart. And where it connects to the top and the bottom of the case is the only parts that aren't glass, and it is their chipboard stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about taking out all the bolts.
Yep.
And then it's stripping in that chipboard, and it's going to be like it doesn't go back together.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep it all together and take it down the stairs like that.
Did someone help you?
My wife ended up helping me. I tried to do it on my own, and I almost fell backwards down the stairs holding it in front of me.
Oh, my God. You could have died.
That would have been, man dies carrying little plastic toy case downstairs.
Dude, that's spooky.
So I'm like, okay. So I did get her help, and we had to like lean it slightly back, but we didn't want to lean it too far because everything's kind of feels like it's like put in there by gravity in the weight of the plexiglass or whatever it's made out of.
Okay.
And so not everything is like secured to everything else. It's kind of like a box that if you just pull at the right spot, the whole thing falls down. And so taking that downstairs was scary. So I did that. And then long ago I had purchased a kit to put lights in it. When I say a kit, I mean I just bought a string of LEDs and these connector pieces that, along with some soldering equipment, you can like customize exactly where you want the lights and run all the wires down the side and hide everything. No, I got too lazy.
Okay.
I bought everything for it, and then I found out the connector things that I bought that just were not reliable, and they had a plastic piece where it went into the LED strip that sticks out kind of far, and so when you would adhere it, it would like come down a bit on the edge, and so I did some test runs, and it just looked ugly, and you like saw it too much. So I just ran the whole thing as a rope. It was like a big upside down U shape through the side and the top and down the other side of the glass case, and it was super easy to do. It took me like 5 minutes, and it actually looks pretty good.
Nice.
And that way you get to decide where you want the actual light to be, because you want it towards the front of the case, not like directly in the middle. Because if you do that, then you get like a pure zenithal, and the more like the front facing part of the miniature is more in shadow because that's your main light. You want it towards it a little bit more in front, so you can see the kind of the front of the miniature, not directly above it from the light source.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty cool. So I just like ran it an inch inside the whole seam. It drilled one hole in so I could hide the cord, and it's got a little switcher so I can turn it on and off. And there's probably much more efficient and nicer looking options than the one I did, but
sounds nice.
So
you're talking about this, and it reminds me of an article I read a long time ago off of Massive Voodoo about how to take a Detolf and make it better for miniature like display cases. And the key thing he does is he puts felt at all the intersections of the glass so that dust can't get in. And so I wanted to ask you, as someone who's owned it for a while, do your models get dusty in there? Is the glass getting dusty?
The glass was a bit dusty. I've had it for probably about 2 years.
Okay, so that means that there's
some
dust
going in there. Yeah, and I've heard, I don't know if it was from that article or somewhere else, that there is some like little like foam bumper things that you can even buy at like Home Depot.
Yeah. That
you can run those and all those, the four corner gaps. Actually, the back side, they have these plastic plastic L grooves. It's an extra piece that goes in the back two walls.
Okay.
So that is completely cut off from air.
Nice.
The top is. So it's only the gap around the door. that is the only place that it's getting in.
Okay.
So it didn't, not a lot. You couldn't really, I can't ever really sell it on the minis, but you can see it on the glass. There was a little bit of dust in there.
Dude, it makes me want to make a video about taking that thing and making it like a cool miniature cabinet, because obviously it's dark as fuck. But if I had like 2 strips running down like the middle column and then up the sides, and then I put something that was air blocking in the doors, would that be a cool video? Or would that be garbage? That'd be garbage, but it might be easy to do though.
It's like this Venn diagram of where does garbage and easy to do meet.
All right.
All right, that's our stories.
Those are our stories. Those are our hobby stories. Those are fun. We had a lot of stories this week. Good job, us. High fives.
Yeah, high fives. Oh, I forgot about our high five last night. You got that?
Oh yeah, blindfolded.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting.
We were so happy about ourselves.
Yeah, we didn't smack each other in the faces. Anyways, that's for another new video, non-drunk mini painting coming out. On what we painted for this week. I can't remember who went first last time. I will just go.
You go.
I painted 5 Blood Knights and 10 Dire Wolves, and I painted some Vampire Lords. They're not done, but they're somewhere in between. And I did it in a 38-hour painting spree, which you probably already know if you saw the video. If not, it's linked in the description. But I wanted to see how long I could paint for before I had to give up, and it was 38 hours.
38 hours is the number?
I could paint for longer.
Yeah. You just like, what was your stop? Like, you got to a point in the painting process where you're like, okay, I got the wolves all done.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't say this in the video. I wish I had have. I thought of it while I was doing it. I was like, the barrier is not a physical one. It's a mental one. It's like, oh my God, I can't do another unit. I can't start another unit. I can't go through this again. Especially after spending 33 hours painting 5 fucking Blood Knights. Yeah, dude.
that's a lot of time.
That's so much time. That's 6 hours. It's over 6 hours in miniature for just a cavalry unit. Cavalry. Someone's going to give me shit for saying cavalry. Anyways, yeah, so that was intense. I could have gone for longer. What stopped me was it was Wednesday at 10, and that's when I go to bed. Normally it's 10 p.m., and I needed to go to sleep so I could wake up on Thursday and then make a video for Friday.
That was the reasoning for stopping.
It was, truthfully. I spent so much time putting the freaking models together.
Yeah.
Had I known I wasn't ever going to get to the zombie dragons, I probably could have not done them. But I guess they're done now and they're based nicely, so I have to do that later. But yeah.
Yeah, your barrier of getting to the whole army done is a lot lower now.
Yeah.
Doesn't that whole army still have 5 more Blood Knights in it, though?
Don't even. Yeah, there's another. So I got to convert them and do 5 more.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot. That's going to be that's your giant boulder to finishing this army.
Yeah, the rest is fine. I'm excited about painting Neferata. I'm excited about the Vampire Lords. The chain wraps are going to be easy as friggin' Sunday morning, dude. So yeah, those are going to be fine. But yeah, that's what I did. My hand is numb. It is still numb. People have told me that it is carpal tunnel syndrome. People have told me that it is a pinched nerve. All I know is that I need to take some break from fine motor skills to give it time to recuperate.
It's your left hand, right?
It's my left hand, yeah.
So you can't hold the model anymore.
No, that's the holding hand, right?
Yeah. So you need to just sticky tack it to the table, and you have to move around.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
Mini.
Yeah, that's when you say, at what cost?
At what cost?
And it's the cost of my left hand. No, it's not. It's fine. It's not that bad. It's getting very slowly better. But yeah, we're on like day 7 or something.
Yeah, if it's not better in a month, I'll use that meat cleaver upstairs and we'll just get rid of it. And then we'll just squish the meat cleaver's handle end into your hole. And so you have cleaver hand.
Cleaver hand. Oh, that's honestly better than having a hand.
Right. In most situations, what would you rather have? A hand or a big meat cleaver?
Yeah, then my career as a serial killer can get started.
Right. It's like I never have to worry about finding a weapon to kill my peoples.
It's a part of me.
Yeah. Scott the meat hooky maniac.
Wait, is it a meat hook or is it a meat cleaver?
Meat hook sounded nicer, but it's not really a meat hook.
Okay, it's a meat cleaver.
And that's why like all the victims are so confused and they end up dying.
They're like, wait, what?
He's like, why does it say meat hook? It's a meat cleaver.
And then we have the makings of a horror little screenplay coming up, right?
Right. Yeah, this is brainstorm. You guys are seeing behind the Actors Guild studio,
Right.
whatever.
This is the creative process right now in progress.
You ever wonder what it looks like? It's not pretty. No. It's not really good.
It's two sleep-deprived idiots.
Talking about putting a meat cleaver in my hand.
But it's not a meat cleaver. Wait, no, it is a meat cleaver, but we call it a meat hook.
Right.
All right, moving on. Are you going to drink something right now?
No, apparently not.
No, not. Okay, what did you paint?
I painted my first ever, I'm not done yet, but painted my first ever Primaris Space Marine. I know.
Your first ever?
My
Welcome to the
first.
club.
I know. Like I painted a lot of Plague Marines, which are
Death
very
Guard.
similar. Yeah, Death Guard, which are very similar to Space Marines, Primaris in terms of size.
Have you painted a lot?
Of those?
Yeah.
I probably painted one.
6?
Oh no, I painted a whole unit of Terminators.
Yeah, 5 of them, right?
Death Guard Terminators. Yeah, I've painted
That
the actual
tank.
Death Guard model. The dude, like 3 of those. So
Oh, you have?
yeah.
Oh,
well, one of them
Sam's
was
class.
one's my crystal brush,
Crystal brush.
and maybe just 2.
Okay, so you painted 7 Death
Well,
Guard
actually, I have 2 more that are half painted. That originally that crystal brush piece was going to be a unit
models.
for the unit category,
Wow.
and so I have 2 more that are half painted.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, and I realized the time was not on my side.
Right.
And if I was going to enter something in the competition, it's going to be 1 model, not a whole unit.
Understandable. Okay, cool. So you understand what it's like to paint a chunky Space Marine.
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds so obvious, and everybody knows it, but I just kind of, it hadn't like dawned on me until actually sitting down and painting one, was how much of that model is all the same color.
Yeah.
It's like 95%. And I mean, especially that helmet on,
Oh, yeah.
it's like all the same color.
It makes. I wonder. I don't think it's done that way to make the painting easier.
No.
But holy hell, does it make the painting
It
easier?
sure does.
You can slap out a Space Marine army with
Slap
an
it a
airbrush,
base.
dude. Yeah, airbrush, a little gloss varnish, a little oil wash. You
Yeah.
can do a whole army at the same time. You crush, dude.
Yeah. And they look so good. Like it doesn't seem to take much. The way that they have the amount of detail on them, and if you can do the black panel lining right, which what I ended up using was I showed you you saw it last night, my tiny brush.
Yeah, the frick.
So I have this really, like, it's kind of a short bristled synthetic brush, and I took my hobby knife to it right where it met the ferrule, and I twisted the brush while I cut the bristles off until there's like 5 bristles left on the brush.
Yeah, it's the tiniest thing in the world. And I was like, what on earth do you use that piece of garbage for?
Yeah. Well, I built that for use with oil paints, because you can have very, thin, tiny brush and the paint won't dry like acrylics.
Exactly. Makes total sense.
But what I used it for with the Space Marine is I used that brush with black ink to do the black panel lining. And because it's so fluid, you kind of have to do one little section at a time. Like, I'll do this one little thing around his wrist that's got the little lines or whatever. It's like, zoop, 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 do those lines. The black ink is very fluid, so it kind of does a little work for you. And then you quickly rinse out the brush, dry it off, and get more black ink and do it the same thing. And that worked quite well, and I didn't get flow over. And if you get, like, it went a little bit outside the lines, you do the old trick where you just, like, run your thumb over it quick.
Yeah, and you don't hit the recess.
Yep. And so...
Did you use full improver? Or did you just straight up black
just
ink?
straight up black ink out of the pot.
Are you using Dollar and Rowney?
FW Dollar Rowney, yep.
Okay. Interesting. I need some more black ink. My Citadel black ink has finally run out. Just straight up. I wonder if you did flow improver, if you could do larger sections at once.
Probably could.
I mean, at that point, you're just making a wash.
I'm just doing one because this Space Marine is for a video. So
Been hearing that a
there's
lot
a
lately.
reason. Yeah. Everything's for a video. I have so much footage
Yeah,
and no
John has
videos
filmed
made.
so much because the biggest barrier to entry is how the fuck does Premiere Pro work?
Right. I don't know how to
so
edit or
much
shit.
going on.
I'm feeling I got just a little bit of confidence in the actual filming part of filming of the mini painting process. I'm feeling just a slight amount of confidence that doesn't look like Garbo.
Okay, yeah.
It's the next big hurdle is get all that footage together and sit in front of the editing station and go,
Dude, you never really know what it's going to look like until you put it in Premiere Pro and you're like, God damn it, there's a wire right there. Or you like, God damn it, my head's in the way. Or you're always going to realize something. It's part of the joy of being a one-man crew.
Right. I realize it's like, all right, I got like 6 hours of footage of painting this figure. One good thing from the editing perspective is I can immediately cut like 4 hours just without even thinking because I wasn't in frame correctly.
Yeah.
Find the footage that's in focus and in frame and use that.
Such an art.
So
I want to take a class from Sarastro just about how to get the shot in focus.
yeah.
I wonder if he has a bunch of wasted footage.
He's got it, everybody.
Sarastro, if you listen to this podcast at all, which you're probably too wholesome of a person to listen to us assholes. But if you listen to this, tell me, do you have what percentage of your footage that you shoot is wasted? I feel like for me, it's somewhere between 30 and 40% of my footage is totally garbage and I have to delete because I'm being a dummy.
But you got to make decisions anyway on what to keep and what not to. So
True.
there's some value in that. It's like, okay, I don't have to go through 8 hours of looking through stuff. I'm immediately cutting 3 of it.
Yeah.
So I've made my work long term a little bit better. So
Yeah.
So Space Marine.
Question: what chapter?
Iron Hands.
You're so loud. Those are Silver Boys?
Yes.
Second question: do you have the Tamiya panel liner or the enamel one?
No.
It comes with a brush in the lid.
It looks like the Tamiya Clear.
Yeah, that same
Kind of thing?
square glass thing,
Yep.
but there's a brush inside the lid, so it's super handy because you don't need to ever have to get like a brush to do your enamels
Kind
with.
of nice.
It's very nice. It's very good for panel
Is it a
lining.
very dark black?
It's black.
Oh. I think I've seen you use that in a video.
I might have, yeah. For a Space Marine, I feel like it worked great.
Yeah. If the brush is decent.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's a little skinny boy.
Okay.
It's not as skinny as your 5 bristle insane thingy.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, that's what we painted.
That's
What
what
did
we
you guys
painted.
paint? Let us know in the comment section below or in the Facebook group. All things links in the description. Or you can let us know on Patreon if you're one of our patrons.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to get back on that horse of sharing, holding yourself accountable. You know, if I feel like I have to share in the Facebook group every episode what I've been painting lately, then maybe that's going to help me. Instead of watching the next episode of, I don't know, Black Mirror, I'm gonna paint tonight too, or I'll do both.
Oh yeah, you can listen. I've never been able to do that.
I can't. The only TV shows or movies that I can engage in while I'm painting is stuff that I've watched a lot of times, and I don't need to physically look at it.
Yeah. The Office, prime candidate.
Yeah, The Office is. I probably watched more Office hours at this point while painting than I have not.
Are you
because
an
I've
audio
watched it so
person?
much.
Do you listen to music or watch TV shows while you paint?
Usually I just have on Twitch streams.
Okay.
Because it's something like it. To me, it creates this kind of background noise that also feels like you're kind of doing the hobby together with somebody.
Sure, yeah.
And so then I can chime in and chatty chat if I want to have something to say, something snarky to add, the combo. And otherwise, I'm just kind of following along with them. Occasionally, I'll look up and see how much progress they've made. Because mini painting, live streaming, so little gets done in any like 20 or 30 minute block of time.
Right.
So it can be tough to just like glue your face to it.
Sure.
But like if I'm following along over a 2, 3, 4 hour stream, you know, I'll get to see the progress while I'm also working. So
I like
that's
that.
what I do. What do you do?
I listen to the cold, silent black of the night. Nothing.
Yeah. There's some. I do that often too, though. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't know. I usually don't listen to music for whatever reason with it.
I know. I feel like I should do that more because I think I talked about it in an episode of the podcast where I intentionally listened to music and told Amber I couldn't talk to her for 2 hours and put my phone away for 2 hours, and I was like everything went black other than what was in front of my face. So I feel like it's a good tool to use.
Yeah, I think that's probably smart. I think that's more about setting up your your mind around the understanding of what you're doing and the boundaries of what it is.
Yeah.
And then whether you listen to music, if you knew you were disconnected and you're only focusing on this for this 4-hour block, whether there was music there or not, probably isn't the key part to it, but it maybe help with your flow state.
Flow state.
Let's just use that phrase again.
Okay, we used it. All right, now on to the topic for today, which is about rules in miniature painting and, is it harmful to the community? The topic comes from one of our patrons, Beasticorn, who's awesome. He supported me on my personal Patreon and also on the podcast as well. So shout out to you, Beasticorn. If you're curious about our Patreon, one of the rewards, I think one of 3, is that you get the ability to suggest topics, and then we'll shout you out in a video. Also, you saying his name, amazing, Beasticorn.
That was very John Ralphio.
Yeah. Oh. Sit down. Listen here. I'm going to take you to the club. Work the club. No, work the floor. I can't even do it. All right. Yeah.
All right. So I want to read his exact wording of the question.
Do it. Do it.
Okay. I'm going to do it.
I'm trying to be more like John Ralphio.
It's terrible. Is the miniature painting community...
We're starting out rough, buddy.
Hey, words are tough. Is the miniature painting community held back by too many rules, or the idea that miniature painting has rules? What ties us in general to this idea of painting with a formula instead of something more abstract or expressive like we see commonly in other art forms? Well articulated. So I wanted to...
Very well articulated.
I wanted to share his word-for-word question because, he was point.
Yeah, he was very intentional. I like the idea that miniature painting has rules.
Right. And to me, to start this off, it is all about that it's an idea. And there aren't rules, but that's how we label them.
Huh. Okay. That has so many questions.
No,
so he compared it to other art forms that are more abstract. Do you think in general other art forms have less... The impression is that they have less rules?
I think when you kind of look back to what you call the masters or the time of enlightenment around 2-dimensional or even 3-dimensional art, and you think about like Rembrandt and Van Gogh and all those guys, it feels like they didn't have rules, right? And I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is kind of manufactured by this rosy lenses of time. But if you go through formal art school now, there's a lot of rules in oil painting. There's a lot of rules in figure sculpting. There's a lot of rules in illustration.
Okay, well that may be the truth, but I'm curious about what you think the impression is. Do you think the average person's impression of miniature painting is that there are more rules than oil painting?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because we're looking at it from a different perspective. Most of us aren't traditional, experienced artists. And so we look at this form as something that has all this structure because much of that structure that it was built on is a foundation of not having artists perform the craft. Whereas oil painting and all that kind of stuff, it's its roots are in the artist's creative process, which is less about rules and more about creating a statement or using emotion or color and light and whatever. And so it feels like one feels much more free and open than the other.
Okay. Interesting.
Your brain, I can hear it turning.
Yeah. Very slowly.
Very slowly.
The gears in my brain.
Okay, let's go back to this question at hand and talk about what are the rules.
You want to do that first?
I think we can define what we're referring to when we say rules, and we're not going to list them all because we probably don't know them all. And again, we're using rules in quotation marks.
There are procedural rules.
Yes.
There are rules where it's okay, the process is base coat, wash, layer, layer, layer. There are procedures that are prime, zenithal prime, use the Zenithal Prime as an inspiration for where to put your highlights and shadows. That's procedural. There are specific rules that are like you can't highlight red with white because it looks pink.
Mm-hmm.
What
about rules around the products and tools that we use?
Oh man, it was millions of those.
Yeah, rules that you have to paint with acrylic paint. Rules that you have to paint a mini with acrylic paint. Man, you can't paint it with enamel paints. You can't paint it with oil paints. You can't paint it with watercolors. You can't paint it. It's got to be acrylic paint.
Right.
The kinds of brushes we use. You should use a wet palette. You should thin your paints. That's a good one. Right?
Are you firing on wet palettes right now?
Yeah, I'm just saying these are kind of established rules. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong.
Okay.
I'm just saying that these are the things that are like not written in stone anywhere, but we all kind of, in some regard, we all have agreed to them.
Right.
That this is better than this.
You need to wear a mask while you're airbrushing.
You need to wear a mask while you're airbrushing.
You need to wear gloves while you're airbrushing.
Yeah.
Because toxic chemicals will absorb into your body.
Right. You can't rattle can when it's colder than XYZ or warmer than ABC outside.
Yeah. Or if the moisture is at a certain amount.
Yeah. Or the moon is in its peak or something.
Yeah, exactly. The solar eclipse is occurring.
Yes. You'll turn into a werewolf if you airbrush in those situations.
You airbrush?
Spray paint.
You can't mix highlights with solely white, and you can't mix shadows with solely black because that's just not good enough.
That's not good. It's boring. That's not.
Yeah, it is significantly better, objectively better if you mix a certain color in with those shadows as well.
Like using airbrush, or not using airbrush, using dry brush is noob technique. Looks stupid. Looks bad. These are again. These are all quotation rules.
Yep.
And we're not saying them because that's our opinion. We're just trying to list off some examples of them.
Good caveat.
Trying to hedge myself a little bit today. How about like the actual finished product, or from a perspective of what looks better than other things?
I think that's all over the board.
Yeah, like I don't know, like the more realistic it is, the better painted it was.
Yeah, there's this weird thing about realism,
mm-hmm.
where realism is always like the motivation for a paint scheme. It's like, I want to do this because it's realistic. It's like, well, that doesn't always produce the best model. That was a good amount of rules.
Yeah, I think we were just defining to give examples of what we're talking about. We're saying, why are there so many?
Mm-hmm.
And do these rules help us, hurt us, or both?
Yeah.
And why?
I feel like there's a certain kind of person that they help and a certain kind of person that they hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And the certain kind of person that they help is the person who doesn't care to be an artist, doesn't want to be an artist, doesn't want their toys to be painted. And it's easy to follow a set of guidelines.
Why'd you say it like that?
I was trying to quote Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
they're guidelines.
Oh, right.
I can't remember the context for that.
Oh, because they're parlay.
Oh, yeah.
He asked for a parlay.
But then what else did they say? Why did guidelines come up?
It's not a hard and fast rule. It's more of a set of guidelines.
Is that what he says?
Something like that.
That's close enough.
Yeah. Don't question me. These are the rules.
All right. Yeah, so someone who's not an artist is going to really appreciate just specific things that they should avoid or try to do to get the result that they want to get, because they don't want to have a hardcore relationship with painting and understand the ins and outs of why things work the way they do and why you paint things those certain ways and effects that happen that you like and how you get those effects and stuff like that. They want to just be given the fish. They don't want to be taught how to fish.
Okay.
Rules are helpful for those people.
Yeah. Well, I also think that you're probably categorizing people in that light that's what they're actively choosing and making that stand.
They are. They 100% are.
Some are, but not. That's
sure.
That's more of a rarity.
Just like everything in life, when I say they 100% are, I don't mean every single person. I mean, I mean the majority.
Yeah.
There are people that sure might fall into the trap of thinking these rules are hard and fast when they're trying to be more artistic and then realizing that, hey, I can break these rules and get different and cooler results that I like.
Yeah, and it's a sliding scale. You can start somewhere. You're not forever defined as being in that box.
Yeah.
You can start with the rules, and following those rules because it's safer and it's more comfortable.
Yes.
I think another thing that people do is they adhere to these rules because, fuck, I lost my train of thought because you did something.
I'm so sorry.
You made a face like you thought of the first thought in your head all day.
One thing you said made me think of something else. So this is credit to you. You mentioned rules as they relate to people following them, and then people looking at the work that you paint and thinking, oh, okay, this is painted in a way that I understand based on the rules in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if, because of the advent of social media, we have less creativity and less exploration for two reasons. One, because the answers are in your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. No. Two, because you get judged for what you do. And it's like, this is not in my expectation of how things work. I'm either not going to interact with it via liking it on Instagram, via putting a heart emoticon on it on Facebook, because I don't like this certain style of painting. And so because of that less interaction, that being ignored, you were like, man, I kind of should follow the rules because I kind of crave this interaction, this what's the word I'm looking for? Not justification, this admiration, whatever, validation, acceptance. Someone's like, yeah, there's two big reasons why maybe people would be more creative if we didn't have Facebook and Instagram in our face all the time.
Yeah, that's the other side of that sword. The one side being you have access to so much more information to learn quicker and learn from others, especially with so many people out there so willing to share what they know.
Right.
So you get to be put on a lot quicker fast track to understanding to how to get better and how to paint like that.
Yes. But
then what comes with that is this, whether you're consciously considering it this way or not, is that in order for me to get better, they're showing me how to do that. I have to do these steps, which are in a way the rules, right? I have to do it this way to get the result to look like this person's painted piece.
Yes.
And so I have to follow those steps to get there, which in art, there is a beginning and then there is an end, and everything in the middle to get to the same result or a certain desired result is a million variables.
Right.
And so the rules, an understanding of the rules and why the rules are the rules, I think is important, but not treating them as hard and fast rules is
I agree.
The next step.
Right. They're very frustrating to deal with because beginner people who genuinely want to get better at painting will hear these things and then they won't know how to get better because they're kind of stuck in a framework that they've developed from hearing it from other people. And so when the answers are seemingly obvious to me, they're so confusing to other people on how to improve. Like when someone asks me for feedback, it's like, look at this model and compare it to an amazing piece. Tell me the difference between the two. There's your feedback. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hard for people to see what's wrong with their piece because they're so clouded by the process they've followed that they learned from someone else, mm-hmm. as opposed to being able to step back from the piece outside of process, outside of rules, and just saying, oh, all these things are wrong with it that I can improve in the next one. Okay, that was kind of scatterbrained. But yeah, rules make it very difficult for people to exist outside of, which then limits creativity and limits your ability to, I think, objectively look at what you've painted and become better from self-critique. Like, that sounds stupid. I don't necessarily need feedback right now because I know everything, not everything, but I know a lot of what's wrong with what I paint. Even when I try super hard, right. I know, okay, I can improve this, I can improve that. And I feel like that self-sufficiency could be really helpful to a lot of people because everyone craves feedback. Like it's some magical drug you take or something like that. That will make you better. I think it will. Absolutely. Yeah. It will, especially if there's a conversation around it. True. Like if it's just 3 sentences on a piece of paper or 3 sentences in a Facebook
instant messenger or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that says things. Here, you do this, do this, do this. I think that's not going to hurt you, but having a deeper conversation around why you're saying what you're saying and having them look at the model with you and envision how it could be different and how you could go about it, and ask questions to the artist and be like, how do you think you could make it feel more like it's a cold evening in this scene? What do you think that would do? And thought-provoking things to get them thinking out of a structured, in the lines, rule-following mindset.
Yeah.
To a more artistic, open-minded approach.
Yes.
So that absolutely, that feedback is good. But oftentimes, from a technical standpoint, and I'm in the same boat, I'll look at something that I painted and I'm like, I don't like how I did this here. I can see this is an area of improvement. And a lot of that stuff is technical, though. A lot is like, technically, I can see how this could be better.
Yeah.
Technically, I see where this doesn't look as realistic as I want this metal helmet to look.
Okay.
But there's then a next tier above that, and that's sometimes where the feedback is much more open to interpretation.
Sure.
Like the highest levels of painting, and people are like, why did this one win over this one? I feel like the one that didn't win was much more hard to pull off from a technical standpoint, but it didn't win.
Right. I kind of regret saying what I said 5 minutes ago.
Rewind.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm always going to take feedback. Because feedback always because you just said this, it always expands your creativity. And that's definitely true of me as well. I'm not the most creative person. I don't have infinite resources to be creative and faculties to be creative. So any feedback from anyone is always going to expand that creativity. But you are right. The technique kind of the conversation about technique gets a little muddled once you've kind of understood the basics. Mm-hmm. There are different approaches to that stuff, and you can get different results. And I don't know what I'm saying right now. But yeah, I just want to clarify that.
I get you. That's a good clarification too.
Yeah, I can definitely use feedback all the time.
Yeah, I'm not above it. I promise. I promise. Okay, so there's a couple things I wanted to dig into on this. And the first thing is the benefit of the rules. I think we need to acknowledge that they exist. If they were here and they didn't have a benefit, they would dissolve naturally over time. If the rules didn't have some sort of benefit, especially to what you would consider, I don't want to say a majority, but a large segment of the painting community. And that is somewhere between haven't started painting yet, but I'm kind of interested, up until I'm consider myself not a beginner anymore. So there's that big window, and that's a big window, and that's a lot of people, and that's where the rules are helpful, because you otherwise will get deer in the headlights syndrome, where you're just frozen because you don't even know how to begin, or you don't know where to start, or how to really be successful. And you don't want to just do this and screw it up. Especially when we first start, we think every single mini that we paint is like made of solid gold and it can't be screwed up on. I really hope I don't want to screw this up. And by having the rules, they allow us to have a little bit of confidence that we know just enough to not screw it up. Mm-hmm. So if I follow these rules, that I have to make sure I prime it first. I have to make sure I thin my paint. I have to make sure I wait for it to dry. Mm-hmm. Before I, whatever. Like, if I follow those rules, I know I won't screw it up as bad as I probably otherwise would. And so the rules are very, very helpful to kind of open the door to the barrier of entry, and to kind of make it so you don't have to climb over the walls to get in.
Okay. I want to take a look back at Beast of Corn's thing, just to make sure that we are discovering every single avenue of this conversation.
So I think where the rules in this scenario, where the rules are helpful, and we need to acknowledge their value and benefit, where it gets to be a little muddy is transitioning out of that swimming pool, and going into the ocean, where we have these rules in the swimming pool. I'm just going to keep going with swimming pool here.
That's fine. You love your analogies.
Yep. Yep. So you start at the kiddie end. It's a little bit warm because there's a lot of pee in that end. Right? And then it goes 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet deep. Now, you're learning to swim through this whole time in the pool. Right? But you've got the barriers, you have the walls, you got the floaties. So you're
floor,
safe.
you're still standing.
Yeah.
You're not swimming at all.
Yeah. You know, you have the rules in place to ensure that you won't screw it up. And by screw it up, it means you drowned. Right? You don't want to drown in my first mini paint. Right? So what we realize most of us do at some point, and if you're listening and you haven't realized this yet, bow. You get this for free.
Did you just tell people to bow?
Just pow.
Oh, pow. Okay. Thought you were like, bow down.
Bow. Here it is. There's an ocean that's like a swimming pool, but it doesn't have any walls. And it's just outside your Fort Lauderdale penthouse suite. It's the beach is right out there. And once you realize that the swimming pool is just a small piece of water and there's an endless ocean of water with no rules out there, if you want to take the risk with the big waves. And that means the security of the walls, the security of the rules, you don't have to adhere to them anymore out in the ocean. But it's a little bit more daunting if you're willing to take the risk. Thank you and good night.
Let's put that on a motivational poster and put that in every workspace in America.
It's just a kitten hanging by a clothesline. Swimming pools.
John Ninus.
So, what do you think? Do you think the swimming pool analogy with rules and the ocean is that next step? And it's hard to get out of the pool, you know? It's like all I know is the pool, but there is something else, and it requires you to kind of shed the rules in order to take advantage of what could be.
If I had some feedback for your swimming pool analogy,
Yeah, give it to me.
it's great.
Okay.
I mean, it makes perfect sense.
All right, we're gonna go with this.
And everyone's understanding it right now. I
I hope so. I hope so. Now, if you never want to get out of the pool and go to the ocean, there's nothing wrong with that. And you can become an amazing mini painter in the pool. I think.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of really good mini painters that follow all the rules.
Okay.
But I think probably the catalyst for Beasticorn's question is like, why do we have all these, and why do we adhere to them? And I think I answered that.
Yeah, it's a lot less scary.
Yeah, and it's required for most of us to have some level of guidelines to help us enter into something new. As humans, that's how we are in all things. It's just like, you're not going to just give you your driver's license and feel comfortable merging onto the highway if you haven't first done the parking lot time with mom and dad and there's no other cars around.
Sure.
It's a much more structured space, safer space to learn.
Yeah. It makes me want to make a video where I'm talking exclusively to people who haven't painted a miniature before or painted one miniature before, and just walk them through all the emotions that I feel like they're going to feel. Be like, hey, this model is not as important as you think it is. And it's going to suck by the end of you painting it. That's totally okay. Let's just do it anyways. And just kind of like, just tell them what it's going to be like. You know, your model's not going to look as good as mine. It's not going to look as good as anyone else who has more experience painting at that point. And that's okay. You're going to get better. Just do these things. And then you can have some areas where you can expand their imagination a little bit and be like, okay, this isn't a rule. You can look into exploring in this category, and you can have like hard, rigid stuff in other categories.
It feels like it should be a series called The Hobby Therapist, where like you're the therapist and you're like helping them through these situations. Area that I thought you were going to go with that was that you're going to have like 4 people that never painted a mini before, and you were going to give each one of them a different number of rules. Person A, you gave no rules, no explanation, no nothing. Person B, you said these 2 things. Make sure you prime it first, and use acrylic paints. Person C, you gave those rules plus 2 more rules. And then person D, you gave all those rules plus 2 more rules. And then see how that affected the product at the end. did it.
That's a cool video.
It's a cool video. Let's do that.
The only issue with it is that you can't make 4 identical human beings.
Right. How much is already inherent to those people?
I could pick my sister for the person to give no rules to, who's already a very good illustrator and has artistic talent. She's a photographer by trade, so she understands things art related. And then I can give a bunch of rules to my wife, who is not interested in miniature painting, she's interested in like watercolor and stuff, so that wasn't the best example. But someone who's not artistically inclined, and if I gave them no rules, they'd flounder way more than my sister or someone who's inclined already.
They have a level of comfort in an artistic space.
Yes.
And probably some experience in understanding the medium in terms of using paint. I think just having more hours, clocked in using any kind of paint, using a paint brush, that kind of thing, like that's not to be underestimated in terms of lack of getting overwhelmed early on.
Okay.
There's a little bit more comfortability there. So that's why those rules are in place, is because a lot of us enter this with not a lot of art background. And so all the details can quickly become overwhelming.
Okay.
It's the same reason why they make 350 colors in their paint line, is
right,
because
they sell and they're convenient, and people who,
yep, it's easier barrier entry for me to see the paint on the rack or ask someone in their painted scheme, what color did you use? Because I like the look of that, and just grab that. It's lowering that barrier of entry to actually get them with paint on brush.
Sure. The problem I have with this conversation is I feel like it's just the 17th way we've said something already in this podcast.
Is it?
I feel like it is. Everything you're saying is correct and accurate.
Just said it before.
I've said it before, though. And I don't want to bore the Sprudes and Spruettes. Are you bored right now, Sprudes and Spruettes? Let us know.
I don't hear anything.
Come on, man. Okay, so what if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, hey, I'm a rule follower, and I want to try to not be so much of a rule follower, which that's not the right thing. And, there's no right or wrong here. We're just saying if that's where your mental space is at and you're like, I want to try to break some rules. How do you go about breaking some rules? Where do you start?
Where do you start breaking the rules?
I think the first thing is that you just find a rule, target it, and then test it to see if what you think is a rule is actually a rule.
Maybe a little deeper than that is, why is it a rule? Why is it in place? Because what is it set to achieve? Because it exists. Okay, so got to prime your mini first is a rule, because if you don't prime the mini, then the paint won't stick to it. Your successive other coats won't stick to it.
Right.
So that's why we have to do it.
True.
But what if the paint does stick to it? This kind of plastic or resin or whatever. Then did I need to prime? Maybe I didn't. Maybe that rule doesn't apply. If I got this whole big board game and it came with 400 minis, let me test one without primer. Let me test one with primer. What was the painting experience like for both? Because if I got 400 minis and I learned that breaking the rule with the primer is possible, think of how much time and paint I've saved by not having to prime it.
Yeah, but let's also test. So you should test that primer does give more grip to your paint before you go and paint 400 board game miniatures, and then realize 6 months down the road that your greasy Dorito fingers are wiping paint off your miniatures because you're not grabbing it by the base. Yeah,
because you're an animal.
Yeah, animal. The base exists for a reason, people.
Yeah. There's one that I just learned of recently. My buddy, he uses metallic Sharpie markers to paint miniatures. There's fine-tipped alcohol pen markers that he uses to paint miniatures. They
Specifically metal stuff, though? Like weapons and stuff? Or the whole miniature?
The whole miniature. Yeah, you paint the whole miniature. And then actually, some of them have really fine tips that you can pretty distinctly clear areas. And then he does like a custom wash at the end. And so at the end, it gets all the recesses to separate everything.
Are you for real?
Yeah. It's really a thing. He uses, and I was over to his house and I saw them, and they look pretty good. So we have to use a paintbrush to paint minis. That's a rule. I always thought that.
My mind's being blown right now.
What if you just do it with markers?
At the end of the day, you are kind of painting because it's a felt brush tip pen, right?
Right.
It's just a convenient brush that has an infinite supply. Okay, nearly infinite. Not nearly, but seemingly infinite supply of paint in it.
Yeah. You don't have to just put paint from palette to brush to mini.
And you can blend with it.
Yeah, you can do it if you build it up.
I might pick up a set of alcohol and try that for a vid. Thanks, John's friend. What's his name?
Kyle.
Kyle? You're the man, Kyle.
Yeah.
Interesting idea. I've been aware of felt tip pens in miniature painting for some time because people use them to do eyes or to panel line sometimes or to do, very, very accurate focused tasks. So yeah, but a whole miniature though, I've never thought of that.
Yeah. So there we go. That's a rule. Why does the rule exist? Well, because these are little sculptures and you put paint on sculptures and the paint will stick and it will be vibrant in color, and that's why we use paint. Okay, well, what if something else could achieve that same goal and didn't follow those rules?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff with rules, it feels like to me, it's like I kind of overthinking it too. Like I don't go about the way I paint ever asking myself those kinds of questions.
Right. You have to be in a certain headspace to be asking those questions.
Yeah.
You have
and
to be
also,
seeking it. And
for most of us, when you get time and you're excited to hobby and you get time to hobby, you want a hobby. You don't want to, what kind of experiment can I run to figure out, do I need to prime my minis or not? It's like, no, it's a rule. I want to paint stuff. I'll make sure it's primed so I don't get it all screwed up later. I just want to focus on what I want to focus on. To me, where this comes into play in an actual real world scenario for me as a painter is looking at a desired outcome. This is what either in my head or from my reference photos or from seeing somebody else's work that I really like and I want to copy it. This final outcome. Here's the outcome. Let's not worry about the rules that they took to get there. What are the rules for, this kind of scene from a picture that I'm using as a reference photo for my diorama? Let's not worry about how it got there. Let's worry about what is it? What do I see? How do I think from my toolkit or not yet established toolkit, how can I try to make that happen? And not worry about the rules that it took to get there. Just think about how can I achieve it? And that's where I feel like for most of us where you can leave the rules behind is to not worry about them, but to really, really think about what you want to achieve and go with it. What does your gut tell you to try to do that?
Listening to your inner voice.
And that's tough too, because you need some reps and you need some experience and you need to know what some of the rules are oftentimes to help you make that educated decision about how would I go about this.
Okay.
Right. So
yeah, this is the difficult part for me. You're saying these things and you're saying it from the perspective of John, who has some time under his belt painting. And it's like, listen, newbie, just listen to your inner voice. And it's like, they don't have an inner voice that's strong. So, okay, I'm arguing with you right now.
Oh, gosh.
I feel like from a beginner's perspective, they're going to be like, John, if I just take a miniature and listen to what my gut thing is, it's going to turn out like trash. Like, that's what they're thinking right now. Because, I have no idea where to go. And I experience this all the time when I'm giving feedback to people. People will say, Scott, give me feedback. And I'd be like, okay, what do you think is wrong with this? And they're like, I have no idea what's wrong with it. So I just feel like it's very difficult to kind of just surmise stuff. And in this case, surmising an approach to painting. That's my argument against you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid argument.
You're just like, oh yeah,
that's a great idea. Let me tell you why you're wrong. Yeah, I think that if somebody, you ask them what they think of their mini and they say what they think is wrong with it, what they think they can improve on, and they say, oh, I just don't know, then your response should be, I think you need to give this a little more effort to look at what's wrong with it.
Dig deeper.
Yeah, because I feel like it's just easier to say, I don't know.
Sure, it is. I understand. Yeah.
Like it's so simple to just let's go on Instagram and click on Amazing Painter and click on any one of their minis and click on the picture and look at that picture next to your mini. Okay. When you want to say to yourself, what did I do wrong? What could I get better at? Look at something that's really, really well done. And then side by side, you'll have a list of 10 things.
Yes.
Or 3 things or 1 thing or 50 things, but you'll have it. And I think that that's the active thought process of like, I don't think people really can't see. I think you just need to help guide them to what to look for.
Yeah. It's coming back to teaching a man to fish as opposed to giving him the fish, giving him the keys.
What else is it like giving them?
Giving them the
sub sandwich.
Yeah, giving them the sandwich instead of making them a sandwich. I have no clue. Wait, what? That made no sense.
You can teach a man to make a sub sandwich.
You can give a man a sub sandwich, or you can teach a man to be a sandwich artist.
Oh gosh, this is deep cuts.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So what is John saying here? Is he's saying that people need to be pushed a little bit for the sake of improvement sometimes. So you can't just take no for an answer. Someone's like, I have no idea what's wrong with it. Okay, well, let's look at your piece next to someone that you like side by side, and you tell me what's different. Okay, I'm not gonna say unless you're blind. Unless you're blind, you will find at least one thing that's different, whether it's contrast or how they apply highlights or the smoothness of their blends. Like, you're gonna find one thing. But okay, so that was in regards to feedback. But earlier you were like, you should look at reference piece and then just surmise how you're going to paint a model. And I think that's more difficult than feedback.
Yeah,
because
it is.
When someone looks at a piece by Sergio Calval Rubio, they're like, I have no freaking clue how he got to that end result.
Right.
Who's a beginner unless you watch it step by step.
Yeah, and that's where I think you're in the swimming pool and you absorb the information by learning about how people paint like this. How does this person achieve this way? And how does this person paint that this way?
Yeah.
How does this person do this kind of technique? And soon your swimming pool is filled with other swimmers. Okay. But eventually, if you're going to go to the ocean, you'll be like, all right, well, I know that Billy back there, he taught me how to do the backstroke. So in this situation, if I'm out in the ocean and it's calm and it's not big choppy water, I'm not going to get water in my mouth if I do the backstroke. So I'm going to do backstroke.
Yeah, but Billy uses freaking inflatable wings. And he's
a
loser.
Yeah, that's why you don't put all your eggs in one Billy basket. You get a lot of painters. You learn a little bit from how they do things. And if you get a little experience testing a little bit about how they did things, try it their way, try it a different way, how somebody else does things.
Yeah.
Try this way this person does non-metallic metal, and then, well, I'm going to try a little bit different like this guy, and then like this gal. And then when I get to the point where I'm going to be able to go in the ocean, and when I say, just look at it, how do you think you want to achieve it? You'll turn to one of those varieties of ways that you've learned and you've tested and you've tried, and it may be because one of them you feel you're better at doing it this way, or maybe you have more experience with it, or maybe it's like, I see that and I think doing it this way with the loaded brush to do the metallics would be more efficient, or in my head it feels like it would be a better way to do it than if I just did layer on layer on layer.
Sure.
So you're taking the bases of rules and you're not holding hard and fast to them in any given situation. You're not being beholden to those rules in order to create what you want to create at the end. And I think that we're talking about, like, why is this so different from, or is it different from, our traditional art forms? I don't think it is. I think that there's a lot of those rules in traditional art forms as well. But what's funny is, especially I feel like this is a common thought process or way to look about it from people in our hobby, is we focus on the artistic and expression and like evocative nature of art as onlookers. But we look at our own form of art, mini painting, from a much more technical standpoint. We focus on the technical for ours. We focus on the artistic expression for the others.
Okay.
I feel like that's often what we do because we're not knee deep in that system. So we don't look at that Picasso and think about how he technically achieved it, because we're not worried about that. We're just worried about what it evokes from us as the viewer. But because we're all artists of this craft, we're focused on the technical side of it.
Okay.
If we all were going to art school and we're in the same oil painting class, think about how differently we would look at that Rembrandt.
Mm-hmm.
Because we'd be looking at it from a different lens. So I don't think we should dwell on the rules in mini painting in a negative light too much. Because I think all art forms have a basis of these rules and foundational skills. But how do we create a piece of art that someone that's not in the hobby would look at and say, wow, not worry about the rules and how it was done, but just by viewing it, it evokes something. And even if that's a sweet spaceman. Thank you. This is the end of chapter 2.
You could do an audiobook. I'd listen to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Something else I wanted to say about.
That's just because you're almost falling asleep right now.
I am very tired. Okay, but I heard what you said, and one thing that I took away from what you said is, if you're in the ocean, not everything needs to be an experiment. You don't gotta try all the crazy stuff. Sometimes you can just fall back onto your toolkit and use those things. Experiment in some areas and not in other areas.
Enjoy that you're in the ocetion.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Right. Like, look, I know base coat, shade, highlight from the swimming pool. I remember that. Now that I'm in the ocean, I could still do that if I feel in it today. If I feel like that's the way that I can make this look good, I don't have to.
Right.
Just wherever I want to go with it.
Yeah, this is so scatterbrained. I'm sorry, but not what you're saying. But I want to jump back to the testing thing. As someone who likes to test stuff, an inclination that I could have, say about John's primer argument, is that vehicles are primed, aircraft are primed, boats are primed. Like obviously, priming has value in some capacity for these vehicles and whatnot. Why wouldn't it work for miniatures?
Why wouldn't it?
And the answer is just because your miniature is in the fucking ocean. It's not driving outside and exposed to the elements. So the question is can I save time and not prime something? Because my miniature just is not under that much duress all the time like a car
right?
is. It's not like getting hit by salt in the winter and things like that. So if you're the kind of person that thinks about like roadblocks like that, just see for yourself. Just test. Is there value in priming my miniatures? Does it actually affect anything? And then go from there.
I feel like
a woman. Ow! You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm so glad that
You're so glad you feel like woman?
That you brought that song into my life today. Shania. All right. I think we did it. We beat that and boss.
Yeah.
We beat the Beast of Corn.
Yeah, we'll let Beast of Corn determine it.
We played the bone flute and tamed the Beast of Corn.
The bone flute. I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that.
Well, that's what you need to play with.
No. I refuse. All right, moving on to some news. One of me and John's favorite ranges to look at, Spira Mirabilis. I think it's French. It's not French. He's definitely not French. He made he comes out with miniatures once every 2 months, 3 months.
Oh no, I don't think it's that many. Yeah, I think he does about 4 a year.
4 a year. Okay, once
Maybe.
a quarter. Okay, and whenever they come out, they're always limited edition. The pre-order is out for 48 hours, and you can get it or not get it. And if you don't get it,
you'll never get it.
Sucks to suck. And they're always not always, but oftentimes they're very. I don't want to call them cute because I feel like that's demeaning. They're very precious. They're very heartwarming pieces.
Yeah, they're non-combative.
Yeah.
They're non-violent.
Yeah.
In general.
And so one came out. It's a little miner holding a gem with a little.
He's got a mole.
A mole. That's what it is.
In his arm. And it's cute as crap.
Yeah. And by the time this comes out and you hear this, it's going to be too late.
Right.
So, but now that you know about Spira, what's the guy's name?
Lucas Peña.
Ah, Lucas Peña Pinochet. He is French.
I think that's Spanish.
Okay.
Pretty sure, but.
Anyways, now you know about him, so just be aware of him. Follow him on Facebook, and he'll let you know when a thing comes out, and then you can pre-order it. John pre-ordered it.
Yep. because I had FOMO from the last couple of his.
Right.
I was like, none of his stuff, like, I just like bend over backwards, like, oh, I love it. But all of his stuff is just so interesting. Like, he as a sculptor is just insane. Like, the level of character and a level of quality of all the details and textures and shapes and everything. It's very, it feels like it was sculpted by a human. It doesn't feel like it was drafted through ZBrush.
Right. And it was. He sculpts them by hand with the baking kind of clay and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The baking kind of clay.
Whatever that clay is, he's using it.
Brother.
But yeah, it's really cool that he has a window open, and like he makes an announcement on Instagram, he makes an announcement on Facebook, and the site is open. You can order, and when it's closed, it's closed. And however many, he's not limited to, like, if 7 million, I mean, that's probably an over-exaggeration, 7,000 people ordered his model, he'd make 7,000 and ship them out to you. And that's it. But there's never been a second run of any model he's ever made.
Which is a shame, because I want that freaking Goblin King.
That big, fatty Goblin King.
If you have the Goblin King from Spira, I will buy it. You get in contact with me.
He is pretty sweet. And he's got little tiny goblins all around him.
He's got little tiny goblins, and he's so fat.
He's so fat.
But yeah, great brand, cool model. I'm still deciding if I want to get it. I kind of want to just get it to have one. And it looks cool. It looks good.
Yeah, as of this, you've got like maybe 4 or 5 hours left.
Oh, God. I'll just buy it.
All right. Hit me with the next bit of news.
All right. In other news, there was a Kickstarter that I backed called Instant Paint by Scale 75, and it's their answer to Games Workshop's Contrast Paint as an alternative to it. And I bought the whole thing, not because I needed it, not because I wanted it, but I wanted to make a comparison video between that and Contrast Paint. A little bit of clickbait, you know, it's going to be a good topic for a video. It's going to get some good views.
Yeah.
So I would recommend buying it, but recently, like this weekend or the end of this last week, there was a as large of a controversy as miniature painting Kickstarter controversies have, barring Nazi pilot ones.
Also Scale 75.
Also Scale 75. Shocker. No. There was a kind of a controversy about shipping prices. Apparently they were way higher than they should have been for this particular weight of stuff. And if I'm being honest, I didn't even look at the cost. I kind of went boop, 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 boop. And then I was like, okay, on with my day, whatever I was doing. Probably playing video games. No.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, I didn't really look at it, but a lot of people were outraged, and they commented on whatever they can comment on a Kickstarter campaign, saying like, you need to figure out a better solution for shipping because it should not cost this much. And Scale 75 put out a update on the Kickstarter trying to explain why it costs that much, and apparently that has added more fuel to the fire.
Oh no!
Made more people upset, and then they released another thing, a second thing, the next day, apologizing, saying their intent was not to further make people upset. And by upset, like people, I read some of the comments on the post, and it was just like, you're doing something wrong if it costs this much. They weren't like, there wasn't outrage.
Right. But they're stating, here's a way you can improve.
Right.
You need to look into other options.
Yeah. So what I'm going to assume is that a few people probably reached out to Scale 75 in a negative way. And that very, very small minority is like making them feel the need to kind of tiptoe around like on eggshells and make sure they're, not upsetting anyone. So they put out another letter saying, okay, here's the deal with the shipping. This is why it's happening. We didn't want to make you mad with the last one. Sorry that happened. Like I feel like in the wake of their last Kickstarter, maybe they're trying to be a little bit more politically correct or like more mindful about how the audience perceives them and stuff like that. Maybe because like I feel like they were kind of overdoing it.
Oh,
that's my impression.
They're like, look, guys, we had swastikas on the bottles of the labels. We took them off. You didn't even get to see them. They were gonna be great. We took them off because we knew you wouldn't like it for this paint. So why are you giving us crap about the shipping?
Oh, on the instant paint bottle?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like part of the logo is like instant, but instead of a T, it's just a swastika.
Okay, they did not do that.
Don't listen to anything
John
I
is
say.
making shit up right now.
It goes back to their Kickstarter page, and they're like, "Where's the swastika pictures?"
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Okay.
no.
All right. What's the last bit of news, Johnny boy?
Also Kickstarter related. I wanted to share some of our Adepticon buddies that we have met over the years, Mr. Sean Sutter and Malev, the Shinobi. They have got a Kickstarter going. I mean,
Yeah.
Sean does.
Sean does. Yeah.
Sean is the creator of a game called Relic Blade, which is a badass skirmish fantasy game.
Would you call it badass or just good?
It's funner than heck.
Yeah.
Funner than heck.
The system is fantastic.
Yes.
Yes.
The system is fantastic. The customization, the way that you can equip your characters, and it's all point based. Typical battles are 100 points, but like you can add different spells if you get a spellcaster that costs a few points, and you can add different greatsword to your paladin, and
it's so many details. It's so specific. I love it.
yeah, there's a lot of really fun details, a lot of different factions to play, and that this new Kickstarter, they reached a goal that they are adding a cooperative rule set for the game. So you can play together and fight the enemies instead of just playing against each other. So I'm excited for that. As of today, when this podcast goes live, I believe there's about 3 or 4 days left on the Relic Blade Kickstarter.
Shame.
Yeah, so you've got a couple days yet to still back it if you like.
Oh, when this comes out, there'll be 3 days left?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yep. That's what I was looking at when you were doing the
Oh,
instant
okay.
color.
I was like saying shame.
Fucking ant on the table crawling up my hand.
We just slew an ant.
Because we don't even care.
I don't even care. Screw ants.
So yeah, when we went to Adepticon, Sean had a booth, a Relic Blade booth.
Yes.
And we got to see that. We got to meet him. Super nice guy.
Did you see so you put this Kickstarter in the notes, and I looked through it. I watched the video for the Kickstarter. The guy is the most wholesome people.
Yeah.
He spends the first 3 minutes of the video, which is seemingly the most important part, talking about how the coronavirus sucked and it canceled everything, and so he wanted to make something fun for everyone to do. And I was like, what a nice guy.
Yeah. he is the nicest dude. If you go on the Relic Blade Facebook group, he's there all the time, all day, every day, answering questions. He's answering questions himself for people that are asking questions about his game, whether it's a rules question or it's a question about the Kickstarter. Well, it's about, wouldn't it be cool if you made this kind of mini or whatever? And he's the dude that answers them. And he's just like, oh, that's a great idea. And he's just honest. He's like, that's a great idea. I got a lot of different stuff. That's a good idea. I wrote it down in my notebook. Dude, how cool is that?
Dude, support good people, support good game systems.
Yeah. So check out that game if you're interested in fantasy, and it's got some really cool minis. Fun game. And Malev, that paints all their studio minis, is a great painter. Funny dude.
Dude, you should walk me through a game of that. Do you know how to play?
I mostly know how to play.
Yeah, you should walk me through a game. Because the things you've said about it, it interests me.
I think it's a game that you and I would probably sit down and play and have fun and not get super competitive over, because it's just kind of fun.
That's kind of magic right there.
Yeah. I mean, the first game wouldn't be. And then we would be like, all right, how do I min-max? I need my orc to be having a crossbow coming out of his butt. And so if he bends over, he shoots it at you and you didn't see it coming.
Weaponry used at all times,
Yeah.
even when bending over.
Yeah, I think this is called the butt bow. It's a custom item. I'm going to email Sean tonight and have him add the butt bow
This
weapon.
just sounds ridiculous. This sounds less like we'd be min-maxing and more like we'd be having fun with butt bows.
Right. It reminds me of that Team Fortress video we watched last night. And the guy's sniping everyone with the bow and arrow.
Oh, yeah.
The butt bow.
Yeah. Dude, Star. Yeah. Star and Germa. That's a good video.
All right, so that's our newsy news for today.
Welcome to the end of the podcast. Thank you for sticking with us this entire time and having us assault your ears with our rambly, tired garbage speak.
Yeah, you have your sweat smells like buffalo sauce and Jägermeister.
Better than smelling like sweat. Rather that than BO, right? No, it's a combination of BO and Jaeger.
Yeah, I got that.
Let me check. If you guys like this podcast and you want to support it, there are a number of ways that you can do that. One way is by buying merch, which you can see me wearing the Trapped Under Plastic. That's not our jingle.
Not at all.
No, not at all. Our sweater. We also have a t-shirt and a female t-shirt. If you want, check it out. Linked in the show notes and the description. Also, you can support us on Patreon. And you get a number of things for being a patron of the show. One is access to an extended episode, which is about 30, 20 minutes longer, sometimes more. I think it's going to be more this time.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking about how to clean an airbrush.
Yeah, and like arguing over the semantics of it.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You get the option to submit your miniatures for feedback during an episode. And also,
we talk about some miniatures that we have found that other people have painted, and we share them with you and why we really like them.
And also we talk about things that we experimented with in the past week, and if they worked and if they didn't work.
I feel like I just said the thing that you said.
Alley-oop.
Again?
No, you said the thing. We talk about models that we like.
Oh.
In the community. Other painters. That's what you said, and then I said something else. We are in a rough shape right now.
Right.
So let's end this thing as soon as we can. We'll catch you guys on the
Flippity flop.